24th of January, at around 3 p.m., the title for the first Stories of Sodor Season 6 episode is leaked, Betrayl. And of course, being a Stories of Sodor fan, I decided to do another discussion video about what the first episode will be about and some predictions about Season 6. This is a Stories of Sodor discussion. First of all, I predict this season will span a couple of years instead of one, most likely 1966 to 1973. I believe the intro will change a bit. Why? Because let's look at the two intros to the first two episodes of Season 5, Vandalism and Competition, back to back, and tell me if you guys can spot the difference.
These are the Stories of Sodor.
As you can see in Competition, Jeffrey was replaced in the intro by Dudley. That's because Jeffrey died in Vandalism, and since he was in the intro, he had to be replaced. And Thomas was killed in Fallout. So of course, he would have to be removed from the intro. I also think that Dudley and Ginty, most likely with a name, will be introduced. Dudley because Victor confirmed he will be introduced, and Ginty because after Thomas died, he would most likely be his replacement. Obviously, from the intro from Season 4 onward, we can see that. And I think that Thomas getting killed off was a much earlier decision than you think, because if you look during the intro to Season 4, Thomas is now with the Farquhar branch. I also think that Dudley should be a nice character, or at least have him be a villain at first but have a character arc, because usually the characters that have character arcs are always my favorites. And with Ginty, I hope he's similar and has the name as Jimmy from the Jimmy the Ginty series, which isn't a show I've watched, but I have heard about it in Playdome Pauses, who did it better on Thomas Ghost Stories, and it looks cool. Thoughts on the show in the comments below. I also think that some characters are going to die, but only a few, because after 9 characters, 61 if you count all the people that died in the Munitions disaster, as well as Jeffrey and Thomas's crews, I think Victor needs to slow down a bit with the killing. But I'd say that Peckett, Glenn, and Bill, because in the Sodor special non-faceless vehicles, it is shown that Bill is too proud to retire and will go for the final firing. And Glenn because we do see his model in the Season 5 preview. But who knows? As for the runtime, personally I think Victor should stick to the short runtime. That's because after a whole season of short episodes, we are already used to it by now, and going back to long episodes would be jarring. As for stories, well, that's a story for another day. But I will say that I'm currently collaborating with Thomas Take and Play 24 on an ideas video where we create our own version of Season 6 for the Stories of Sodor, using ideas from the both of us. Part 1 is already up, and I'm not sure when Part 2 will be up. And this isn't part of the script, but Xansu made a video about why Dudley shouldn't be in Stories of Sodor. This isn't in the script because the script was written before that video came out. And in that video, he says that Dudley shouldn't appear because we need more focus on other characters like Albert, Winston, Murdoch, etc. And while I would love to see them, I personally think that Dudley should be introduced. And as Victor said, well, he can be changed. It doesn't have to be a one-to-one of the Barry Trucks Dudley. I mean, remember Alfred? He was completely different from Richard Jordan's Sodor Dark Times, so maybe the same could be done for Dudley. Now then, let's move on to predicting the first episode, Betrayl. The story begins with Edward explaining how 1965 affected Sodor and its engines, and how Thomas, Jeffrey, Peter's, and Mickey's deaths did. The Fat Controller buys some replacement engines. 2 of them are Genty and Dudley. But that is a story for another day. Now I predict that this story focuses on Reginald and Samantha's relationship. One stormy night, Reginald and Sam are alone at the sheds. There's no other engines there. Just the 2 of them. Alone. Samantha sees that Reginald looks miserable, very shaken, as if he's afraid of something. Sam asks why, and Reginald tells her a secret he had always kept dark, because it was a sensitive topic, and every time they had a conversation, an engine was always there. And given that they were alone, then was the perfect time for Reginald to tell Sam his secret. Before coming to Sodor, his best friend, a GCR Class 8K named Jake, was killed when he was pulling a train through a thunderstorm, slipped on wet rails, derailed, and his boiler burst when he tipped on his side when he crashed, causing him to die. And Reginald had been afraid of storms ever since. Now, I know what y'all gonna say, that it sounds just straight up weird and just simply bizarre that I would choose Reginald of all engines, as an engine who has a fear of storms. That better suits someone like Percy or someone, but let me explain. Now, you know how Reginald is seen to be a very mean and rude engine, especially towards nor'easters? Well, personally, I believe that the reason why a lot of mean or rude people are like this is because they've experienced something traumatic or bad at one point in their life, and they are acting mean and rude to hide it. A good example of that is Duncan. The reason why he was such a jerk was because of his old railway, and that caused him to be a jerk. And it was only after Andreas's death that he became a nice guy. Anyway, given that Sam is his wife, he relies on her to keep it a secret. Sam says she'll do just that. That, however, changes when Francis boasts about how he's never been afraid of anything. And Sam says that everybody's afraid of something, and accidentally says that Reginald was afraid of storms. Before she realizes her mistake, it was too late. All the engines soon hear about this, and some engines, like James and Francis, start laughing at Reginald for his fear. Of course, Reginald is furious at the idea of his wife betraying him like that, and they go through an unpleasant divorce. Samantha was heartbroken that she had done such a horrible thing to her own husband and feels genuine guilt. Samantha apologizes to Reginald one night, and Reginald sees that she is genuinely sorry and feels genuinely depressed for what she had done, and the 2 make amends. The 2 engines go through therapy from Derek, who becomes the official engine for the fire and rescue service. Reginald to get rid of his fear of storms, and Sam to get rid of her depression. And later on, after an act of bravery where Sam saved Reginald from a collapsing bridge of Caledonian Doom by T1E2H3 style. However, unlike Ted, Sam doesn't fall off the bridge. The 2 eventually become a couple again, not married, simply boyfriend and girlfriend. And that's how the episode ends, with the last line from Edward. And so the 2 became a couple again, while Reggie was still a little weary if Sam would tell a secret again or not. I think she learned her lesson. Wouldn't you? Now, I know this may seem like a long story and would take at least 20 minutes, and I did say Victor should stick to the shorter runtime, but I feel like this would be an amazing story for a character that has a lot of potential. Sam is a character that I think has lots of story and character potential. I can think of many stories about her, and I think this is one of the best as it makes us like her more. It would honestly be awesome to see her go through a character arc. a moment where she really screws up and a redemption where she really proves herself to make up for it. You know, a character arc. Because as I said, the characters that do have character arcs are the best ones. Now, what a story that would be. So in conclusion, this is what I think the newest episode and season of the show will bring. Now am I saying for sure that Reginald and Sam will go through a divorce in this episode? No. Please remember that this is all just a theory. A Victor Tanzig theory.